We'll go one no comment. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loe Savasahunam, Eso Panchanamukaro, Sauva Pavapanasano, Mangalanam cha Savesim, Padamam Havai Mangalam. Okay, we're starting a second chapter today. And in this second chapter, Srimad describes characteristic of a matarthi or a bigot in this presentation of 10 verses, 24 through 33. The verses 24 through 28 are devoted to characteristic of Vyavahar Bhasi. And, in the next stanza, we'll know what that Vyavahar Bhasi is. A bigot sectarian who insists on mechanical ritual practices without proper understanding is called Vyavahar Bhasi. A Bhasi means person with elusive impression. So yesterday we talked about Vyavahar Bhasi, that if you're doing Kalash Puja, and if you don't understand why you're using the water to do the Kalash Puja, then it's called Vyavahar Bhasi. He doesn't understand. Reason we're using the water needs purification of our bad karmas and end of the ocean of cycles of birth and death. So if you don't understand, that's Vyavahar Bhasi. But if you understand what it means, then you are Nishchayvashi. So verses 29 to 31 are devoted to Nishchay Bhasi. A bare knowledgeable person insists on an absolute view to the exclusive of world realities is called Nishchay Bhasi. So verses 32 and 32 are devoted characteristic of both absolute point of view and a practical point of view. Yeah, if you want to, it'll be nice. A bigot believes those as true Guru who have outwardly renounced but do not have enlightenment, or he has affinity for the family Guru who belongs to his family. Affinity meaning, some kind of family relation. Of course, enlightened meaning knowledge of soul. Bahya means outwardly. Tyag, of course, renounce. Nija Kula Dharma, religion of one's ancestor, birth religion, family guru. And Mamatva means affinity, means family relation. This verse is describing the bigot approach arising from wrong perception of the Guru. The wrong perception about a Guru would include similar perception for divinity as well. Mam means mine, my, pride, that's all mam. Mamatva meaning feeling of mine and love and affection. So last word, mamatva. Srimad says the sign of Sadguru is the renunciation of passions, and inner passions being more important than outer passions. And those inner and outer passions are in those charts for Nav Tattva. A bigot selects his or guru, either one who has renounced the external but not obtain the knowledge of the self, or one who is traditionally his family guru. A lot of time we follow what our parents does, and we keep doing the same thing, but we want to make sure that the guru is enlightened guru. A bigot would select guru with mere, okay, we did that. A bigot or family guru are mostly resorted to with ulterior motives, like the desire to nurture ego and pride or to earn respect for the community. Such family guru get their follower attached to the family tradition and make them non-receptive to true teaching. Guru not supposed to make a match. Sometimes they say, your son is such and such, your daughter is such and such. Why don't you guys get together? Now this is all, the real enlightened guru would have nothing to do with the worldly life. That's all. Now inner possessions, I think it's all in there. Mithyatva, Krodh, Man, Maya, Lobh. That means ego, deceit, all toxic passion. Anything with toxic passion. And outer possession is like if they tell you about something to do with the dhan, means wealth, food matter, or servant, or a dasi, or some gold. Lately I heard that a lot of monks don't even come to your upashraya unless you donate so much money to certain cause. So those are not enlightened guru. The wrong perception about a guru constitutes mithyatva, wrong belief, which is the principal cause of transmigration, worldly wandering.
Verse 25.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. The bigot considers the appearance of the Lord's body and the splendor of his assembly, congregation, as the description of the Lord and restricts his intelligence to it. Jinade means omniscient God's body. Praman means size. Varnan means description. Samovasaran, divine assembly of omniscient God. So right now, Simandar Swami in Mahavidya Kshetra has a Samovasaran at present time. Roki means restrict. Nij buddhi. Nij means own. Nij buddhi, own intelligence. So, what are the attributes of a Tirthankar? Let me go one more. Oh, sorry. 25, 1A, I gotta go a little up. Okay, so this one we did. So, attributes of Tirthankar, the outside one is Sihasan, Bhava Mandal, they have around their halo around the face. Then Chamar, Ashok Vruksha, Pushpavru, those are all by outside. Pushpavuti, Dev Dadundi, there is always some kind of drums are playing, and one more. Yeah, no, those are 8 1. A bigot is impressed by only the external accomplishment and consider the same as the true image of omniscient Lord. He did not understand that the true image of the Lord either is the inner renunciation and omniscient. The inner one is Anant Jnana, which is infinite knowledge, perception, conduct, immortality, formlessness, and infinite energy, and no status, neither heavy or light. So those are the one we need to consider. When the living true Guru is available, he behaves with perverse attitude. He confirms the untrue Guru as the true, chiefly to glorify his own ego. Pratyaksha means direct living, right in front of you. Vimukh, ours. Manarthi means due to ego and other passion. Mukhya means chief or main. This verse deals with the misplaced faith of a bigot in a wrong guru. A bigot has cultivated firm faith in his wrong guru and feels sure that path of liberation lies in the way his guru says. If a bigot comes across a true guru, that guru would be obviously urge him to give up the wrong notion and prejudice that he might have formed. A bigot would be scared to hear from the true guru and would turn his face away. If the rain is falling, and if you have a bucket, and if bucket is not facing sky, you can't collect the water. So you have to face in the right direction, That's why you see a lot of time, some folks will always come in a Hitesh Bhai lecture and sits right in front of the, on the first seat. So there is a pratyaksha, information transformation from guru to the disciple, The egoistic bigot will get attracted to an asad guru or a wrong guru because he will get attention, greeting and praise from him and falsely think that he is Sadguru. A bigot gets deceived by a Sadguru because of his pride. Okay, number 27. A bigot takes his classification of heavenly and other states of existence as constituting the scripture's knowledge and believes that insisting on his view and on his bigot attire will gain him liberation. Devadi means, all the heavenly beings. Adi means etc., etc., etc. Shruta Gnan, scriptural knowledge. Gati, state of the soul, like Dev Gati, Manushya Gati, Narak Gati, Manushya means human form. Those are all the 4 Gatis. Vesh means dress, attire. So he's saying that don't get confused by attire of the sadhu. Go and see his inner ability to enlighten you. This verse deals with the wrong concept of the bigot regarding scripture knowledge. A bigot not knowing the metaphysical meaning of the scripture, a scriptural description of heaven and hell takes them revealed knowledge. When you read about heaven, it's quite an interesting description of heaven. So he said, don't get excited, and understanding go to heaven is your goal. Your goal is to, how you attain moksha. The scriptures knowledge is actually meant for inducing people to look inwards. A bigot knowing about the luxury of heavenly life from the scriptures may aspire to get heavenly life and develop longing for a new worldly existence and delaying liberation. A bigot would attach more importance to an external clothing and insist that without being attired in a particular way or without holding some specific symbol, no one can attain liberation. A bigot does not realize that liberation consists of getting rid of attachment, dress code, classes, prejudice, etc. Bigot people remain stuck with such a superficial consideration. The bigot does not understand that the instrumental cause of self-realization is the cessation, suppression, and destruction of belief, delusion producing karma, darshan mohaniya karma. Other word is the bhangjal, don't get caught between a Deravasi and Sthanakvasi, or fourth, chauth and pancham is together, or this paryushan starts certain day, your goal is to, detachment to the worldly life. So if there is some kind of misconception, just don't look at those. Look at the true meaning why we are in a paryushan and doing fasting or doing all the rituals. He, bigot, does not recognize the nature of his thought activity and stays proud of observing restraint for the sake of gaining worldly esteem, ego. He stays away from the path of the true bliss. Layu, let's see. Layu means understood. Grayu means kept. Vritti is your thought arising in in mind. Abhiman, we know. Abhiman is ego. Laukik is worldly. This verse explains how ego causes a bigot to stay obvious of his wrong tendency towards the soul and worldly life. Everybody heard the name Ramakrishna Paramhans. He was a great saint. He had two very sharp students, and they always competing to each other. And one wanted to be better than other, and the other one wanted to be better than the other one. So constant fighting was going on, and they tired of fighting, so they went to the Guru. He said, who is a moto? Moto means who is the better than others? Say, Guru, can you tell me? The Guru said, whoever think other is better than you, he's the better. So, it's always be humble. Humbleness always pays, That's one of the signs of true Guru. He's always humble, he doesn't matter who you are, he welcomes everybody with the same, showing, welcome. The main factor that does not allow a bigot to see the truth is his ego. They say ego is your number one enemy. So one time somebody asked Gautam Swami, he said, how do I take care of all my toxic emotion? He said, if you win one, you win 10. So he said, explain, Gautamji, please explain me what does that mean? He said, the first one is ego. Once you win ego, you win all four kasaya. Krodh, man, maya, lobh. Your anger, your pride, your greed, and your deceit. And once you gain those four, you win all your five indriyas. You have control over your speech, control over what you hear, what you smell, what you see. So he said, ego is your number one enemy. He said, you win one, you win all 10. You know. That's why even Naukar mantra, Namo is said 6 times. And main thing, Namo means let go your ego. You know, that's a bigot observes a vow and practices a penance more with a view to earn respect from others and to be praised as a highly religious man than for the purpose of self-purification. If accidentally bigot has chance to meet an enlightened living guru who can guide him on the right path to soul liberation, he elects to neglect such a guru because he may lose the respect and regard that he has gained in the community. A bigot, for the sake of maintaining his ego, leaves aside the true nature of the soul and abandons the very object of observing the restraint and austerities. Otherwise, a bigot merely verbally resorts to the absolute point of view. He rejects the true mode of life and stands deprived of means of self-realization. You know, you may think, you know, the real nature of the soul is full of purity, infinite knowledge. I don't need to do anything, you know. But he doesn't understand that we are all bonded by karma. Unless you get rid of those karma, that purity never gonna show up. Nishchayane, that's the absolute viewpoint, theoretical, absolute viewpoint. And we know that as far as the soul is concerned, the absolute viewpoint is infinite knowledge, infinite perception, bliss, and perfect conduct, you know, all of those 8 attributes. Shabda means verbal, lop means neglect, sadhan is a medium, rahit, deprive, right, deprive. After explaining the characteristic of Vyavarvasi, Srimad now turns to Nishchaybhasi, absolute or theoretical point of view in this verse and next two. Let me see. Now, Jain scriptures have said one should adopt both theoretical and theoretical means Nishchay and a practical world point, since they two are both sides of the same coin. You know, it's like you in a forest and somebody say, hey, here a snake gonna bite you. You know, other guys say, hey, no, forest is the one where I can get all the medicine. Guy like me who likes camping, I say, no, that's a place to do camping. So, you know, it's like anekantvad, you know. So you have to understand both in order to achieve the self-realization. You can't just think of one, you have to think of both to follow the real path of self-realization. Formally, he repeats like parrots that the self is ever young, immortal, pure, never bound, absolute point of view, hence no question of its freedom. I think Vedic feels that when they die, they all unite with the God. You know, we'll take that later. But in practice, therefore, he feels that he needs not to go to any guru to save his soul. No need to read spiritual scriptures or be afraid of any behavior, good or bad, since naturally pure self can neither be raised in a status by good deeds nor be degenerated by bad deeds. With such intellectual decision, the bigot rejects all means of self-improvement and behaves with whimsically and immorally. By unduly resorting to the absolute viewpoint, a bigot thus stays deprived of vital means of spiritual progress. Sometimes we may say, okay, I want to retire at a certain age and I want to make $5 million. Then I'm going to retire. But I already reached 65 and I already got maybe a $1 million. So what do? You have to be, taking in granted that I only got so much to live. I'm not going to do any more, and understand that this is my practical point of view. I can't make any more money than this. That's so number 30. De bude bhaumai. A bigot does not attain the state of enlightenment, nor he is equipped with the means thereof. One who comes in a contact with him gets drowned in the sea of worldly existence. Jnana dasha, state of true knowledge. Sadhan dasha, practical state. Sang, contact. Namo Arihantanam. Tanam means sang too, by the way. Namo Arihantanam means I want to associate with all the attributes of Arihant Bhagavan. That's a Tanam. Tanam meaning sang. Bude means drown. Bhavamahi. You are drowned in the cycle of birth and death. So if you wind up with an enlightened guru, instead of not repeating cycle of birth and death, it can really make you to go deeper and more cycle of birth and death. So they say, be careful with unenlightened guru. A bigot does not obtain the knowledge of the real and he has already rejected the right disciple for it. He tends to ignore importance of detachment and other wholesome aspect, which punya aspect, and stays deprived of the right means for spiritual development. Staying thus devoid of enlightenment as well as of the right means, the bigot remains far away from the path of liberation and stays engulfed in the vicious cycle of birth and death. Not only bigot, but all who meets and follow him sink deep in the worldly misery. They're saying the company one keeps always affects the person. However, an enlightened soul is not affected by company he keeps. The vernon of poisonous snake curled around the branch of a sandalwood tree does not affect the coolness of the tree, nor does the coolness of sandalwood tree affects the snake. In the same way, enlightened soul is not affected by company around him because he does not involve himself with him. Standing on a balcony and you see everything going by and everything happening, but you take as a grain of salt, You are always in your thought, same way. Not only bigot, but also who meets and follow him sinks deeply into world misery. The bare knowledgeable also remains sectarian on account of his ego. He does not get on the right path and state unworthy of liberation. Matarthi, bare knowledgeable. Nija man adi. Man means ego, pride. Nij means self. Adi means etc. Adi is used, many times in Aatma Siddhi. Kaj means cause. Paramarth, liberation. Adhikari means not worthy. The bare knowledgeable is bigotry state due to his own ego, call himself knowledgeable. If a bigot accepts the truth, he has to admit that he was on the wrong path. That would hurt his ego. In order to preserve the ego, he shuns the right path and remains conceited. That is wrong approach, which is a mithyatva. The bare knowledgeable person thus remains unworthy of liberation due to mithyatva. Hello. Hello. Unfortunate is the bigot who has calmed down the passions, does not have inner detachment, and is neither straightforward nor impartial. Here is a very wide definition of a bigot. This verse describes 4 principal attributes which a spiritual aspirant must hold and which a bigot does not possess on account of insistence of his own viewpoint. Matarthi always has his viewpoint. He doesn't want to listen to anybody else. He is very much opinionated. The attribute first is calming down the defilement, all toxic passions. Anger, ego, deception, greed are the main defiling instincts that need to be calmed down. The second attribute is internal detachment, which the bigot cannot cultivate. If you take a drop of water and drop it in a sand, it disappears quickly. But same drop of water, it's on a lotus, it becomes the pearl. If a soul makes his ego disappear, like what happens in a sand, the soul can shine like a pearl. So everywhere we go, we get the same message. Let go your ego. The third attribute is straightforwardness. The fourth attribute is impartial attitude, which comes from an open mind. Only an open-minded person remains receptive that enables him to dispassionately evaluate the different viewpoint. Straightforwardness, you see a lot of people lip-wise, they always have an answer. Even before you start something, they will always tell you. So the straightforwardness guy is not the lip-wise. He would always wait, try to understand, what is he making a practical viewpoint or vyavaharic viewpoint, what is right or wrong, Since a bigot does not possess these attributes, he cannot undertake true spiritual pursuit and continues to move in the worldly cycle of birth and death. So those are the prerequisites to Atmarthi. We want to move from Matarthi to Atmarthi. So, your sole goal is to understand Atma, your soul, and become self-realized. The characteristics of a bigot have been stated in order to avoid them. Now, Srimad is describing those of the truth seekers for the sake of spiritual bliss for the soul. Java means remove. Kaj is cause. Atmarthi is truth seeker, true seeker of his own soul. Atmartha, self-realization. Sukh is bliss. Sukha Saj is spiritual bliss. The characteristic of the bigots have been described above purely for the purpose of identifying the different forms of bigotry an individual might unknowingly possess it in himself. So, trying to tell us, stay away from those guys. This is done impartially and out of compassion. If he is conscious of bigotry, he may make efforts to remove bigotry from himself and may become thereby a true seeker of the self, seeker of eternal happiness and bliss. The characteristic of truth seekers are laid in the next presentation. Its purpose is to draw the attention of a disciple toward the path of bliss. The soul has infinite good qualities. However, a bigot will disregard the good qualities and look only at the fault. The faults are always others' fault and not his own. If he looks toward his own fault, he can get rid of them. An enlightened soul will hide both and fault of others, his own good qualities. So we'll go to the next chapter after this. The bliss is inherent within the soul, but it is not manifested at present. If one cultivates the attributes of truth seekers, he would be enabled to resort the means of attaining the lasting bliss. So now we go with the next one. How are we doing at a time? We'll be able to finish one more chapter. Chapter, yeah, right, okay. Now, characteristic of a truth seeker. Let me set this one up too. Okay. There are 10 verses in this presentation. Srimad describes characteristic of a truth seeker, which called Atmarthi. The truth seekers are those who seek the well-being of his soul, meaning they are interested in gaining self-realization. The worldly soul has been wandering because it has never conceived of its true well-being. The worldly soul is interested in gaining happiness, and he looks to the worldly source which are incapable to provide the true happiness or permanent happiness. When one realizes that happiness lies within and cannot be gained by looking out, many would turn inwards. Such turning around indicates that worldly soul is intent upon seeking the truth. In other words, he has now been oriented towards the true well-being by looking inwards and become truth seekers of his own soul. A truth seeker seeks out a true guru who is enlightened and obeys his commands. A truth seeker calms down his passion, aspires for liberation, has compassion for all living beings. Mahavir Swami used to have a compassion, but his compassion went beyond. When he saw that butcher who used to kill 500 animals every day, he didn't felt sorry just for the animals, but he felt sorry for the butcher. That, somebody gave him a wrong guidance, and that's the reason he's been doing that. So that's the kind of compassion Srimadji is showing upon us with this. Yes, yes. Monasticism abides in self-realization, like monkhood. They are the true gurus. A truth seeker does not have any fancy illusion about the family priest. Aatma Jnana, self-realization, Munipanu, sainthood, Kulguru, family priest, Kalpana, illusion. Atmarthi is a truth seeker. The knowledge of the self is always accompanied with saintliness. One who knows the self is a real saint. He is alone is a true guru who can lead the seeker of the self to self-realization. Truth seeker of the self definitely knows the futility of worshipping or following an ignorant family guru who does not have any concept of self-realization. Futility means, pointless, lack of importance, blind leading upon blind. The true seeker knows that such impostors cannot deliver him freedom from the cycle of birth and death. The truth seeker have no fancy illusion for ignorant family guru. The truth seeker has no doubt about the sincerity and geniusness of a true guru who is devoted to only path of self-realization and true renunciation. A snake sheds his outer skin but never leaves his inner poison. Similarly, an ignorant person leaves his outer clothes and object but does not renounce his inner feelings of enjoyment of physical objects. The meaning of sadhu is, or a saint, the true gurus are true sadhu, namo loe savva sahunam. Meaning of savya, sadhu, savva sahu. Savya means worth listening. Follower of Arihant, and who are the most beneficial for us to attain moksha. That's the meaning of sadhu, savya sadhu. And those are the saint we are talking about. Considering the direct access to a true guru as a supremely beneficial, one would act on his precept with the united energy of the body, speech, and mind. We have to have that kind of faith. So you give everything you got, tan, man, dhan, those who understand Gujarati, You give everything what you got. And when you listen to Hitesh Bhai, you feel that way. Really, it's whoever doesn't get a chance to listen and who understand Gujarati, always you can get the lectures from our Jain website, and Pratyaksha, direct, Param, supreme, Upkar, beneficial, Yoga, activity of mind, speech, and body, Ekatvati, with unity of mind, speech, and body. The Pratyaksha is so important because, sometimes we get misguided. When I was a little boy, I always used to see one person, he had everything. A beautiful car, a nice family, you name it. But, when you in contact with him, his character was bad. And I always felt, and I was in a very poor family, I only used to get maybe 1 or 2 annas for a month as my allowances. And I always feel that, I'm going to temple, I'm trying to do everything, and I didn't know everything. I did like a parrot. So then I found one guru, which was my family guru, but he was enlightened guru, and I asked him, I said, Guruji, why is that? And Pratyaksha Guru, he told me, he said, those are because of their previous karma. He's getting the fruits of his karma of previous life. And you must not have done as good as previous karma as, him. And that's why, you're struggling for little things. But, we follow the right path and you'll be okay. So those are the meaning of Pratyaksha Guru, where whenever you have some questions and you don't understand, you can go to him and he would guide you right away. So as soon as you gain that faith and not misguided, you don't lose that good time. Otherwise you are always thinking a wrong thing, and you can't go on the right path. It's like, like I was telling, in a big dam, if you got one hole, it get bigger and bigger and blow up. So good idea to plug that hole of the whatever you don't understand, so you can keep following and have that good faith. Pratyaksha, we did this. Truth seeker feels immense gratitude to a living true teacher whom he has found out and adopted as his sole guide in his search for the self. He completely surrenders himself to Guru by thought, word, and deed. In the present era, mind, speech, and body is mistaken by body, mind, and money. If money were necessary to attain self-realization, a poorer person would never attain the moksha. Hence, a true seeker should follow a Sadguru with mind, speech, and body, not with the body, mind, and money. One is not called a truth seeker by sweet talk, folding hands, touching a Sadguru feet, bowing one's head. True seeker should have inner devotion to a Sadguru and have a place in his heart for a Guru to be called truth seeker. Right conduct is to follow the advice of a Sadguru, enlightened Guru, by surrendering to the true Guru. When the conduct is right belief and the right knowledge are also present. Truth seeker scrupulously follows the Guru advice in every way. By aimless behavior of absence of living true Guru, a seeker of the self may invite bondage. By canalizing the same energy wholeheartedly in the service of a living true Guru, he can obtain liberation. Canalizing means rendering. We render all our service, tan, man, dhanti, to the Guru. Doctor prescribes medicine according to the disease. The Guru, same way, tells you what austerities to perform according to one confession. If you have done something wrong, like I've done Pachkan and done Ekasanu, and by mistake, I did something wrong. I thought I did Beasanu and start eating. You can always go to the Guru, say, hey, please, I've done this. How can I correct myself? And he would say, okay, do 200 Naukarwali of Naukar mantra. Similar like those. There is only one path of supreme bliss for all the time, past, present, future. The practice that leads to the bliss is worth adopting. Tran means three, Kal, time, past, present, and future. Paramarth, highest ideal. Paramarth has many meanings. Paramarth is also moksha. Dharma is religion. Samant, acceptable. Since Supreme Bliss lies in a state of liberation, the truth seeker needs to resort to the path of liberation, but path remains the same all throughout. You know, anybody knows what Sukhdi is? You know, Sukhdi has been made for thousands of years. The recipe hasn't changed, just like liberation, you know. All you need is a mixture of wheat flour, ghee, and a brown sugar. You know, my mom always made those. I always see it, you know. In about 5 minutes, you know, she'll make the gol papdi. We call Sukhdi. You know. So it's the same way, you know. Certain things remains the same. There is no difference of opinion about the path. The path is easy. It's path of bliss. It's steady and prevails forever. There is no short path. You know, it's always a one path. No one has gained liberation without making out the secret of that path. You know, if you try to take a short path, and if you don't know where you're going, it always winds up to be a long path. So I always feel like you're better off the path you know and follow it, you know. It means that path of liberation consists of 3 jewels, right? Rational perception, rational knowledge, and rational conduct. Those 3 things are like a ladder. The 2 supports of the steps are rational perception and rational knowledge. We have to take one step at a time by our proper conduct and reach to our goal. So they all 3 has to work together. The liberation can be attained by knowledge and practice, which is our conduct. The first line of this verse relates to the absolute viewpoint, which focuses on ultimate truth, that there is one single path for attaining liberation. The single path consists of knowing the soul, being convinced of its existence, and staying in tune with its nature. I found a nice little article that what are the properties of soul, a pure soul, if it is not bonded by the karma. And it's very interesting. The one we know is consciousness. It's non-physical, it's living, eternal, permanent, fixed, constant substance of cosmic universe. And the main attributes is the consciousness. Does not have property of color, smell, taste, or touch. And from consciousness manifestation is knowledge, intelligence, intuition, bliss, perception, emotion, will, our attitude, and our behavior. Those are all manifestations of our consciousness or knowledge. They are all different forms, you know. Soul is also an observer and also observes both. Soul has no contact with the body. Soul has no contact with karma, but bound with karma. Without consciousness, there is no life. So this is the true property of the soul. The second line of verse therefore states that activity which leads to ultimate objective needs to be adopted as a right practice. This is the practical viewpoint. So long as one stays embodied, his physical, verbal, mental faculties are going to function. Devotion, worship, scriptural study, austerities, forbiddance are the activities that can be helpful attaining liberation, which we are doing during this Paryushana. The omniscient Lord have laid thousands of rituals and precepts to point out the path. Those rituals and precepts are fruitful if they are adopted with a view to proceeding on the path. You know, Hitesh Bhai is Vidhikar, and he understands all this Vidhi with the true meaning, which is the practical viewpoints to gain liberation. Thinking as such, one seeks access to a true guru. Self-realization is only aspiration. His mind knows no other ailment. Yog, vichari means thinking. Yog means occasion. Antar, inter self. Shodhe means find. Bijo means other. Manarog, which is the biggest problem. Manrog, disorder of the mind. And then Manyog is desire. You know, once you plant the seed of desire, the tree has so many fruits of those desires, and we all go haywire, you know, having a big house or whatever worldly desires we have. So if you stop those desires, then disorder of your mind is gone. And then you can think of your soul instead of body. And you know, most of the desires are like an illusion, like a dream. You try to achieve and you think to achieve, and the more you try to go behind it, further and further you get. So the best way is to accept what is come to you and don't desire for anything except the self-realization. A true seeker of the self determines once and for all his goal and the path to it as described, and then recognizing the need of guidance of a living true guru, and employs all his energy in the search of a living true guru. You know, luckily sometimes, it's hard to find a true guru here, but there is so much stuff available on the line, and there's so many websites which full of information, which didn't, in those days, during the time of Srimad, they didn't have access to all that. There is a site for whole Kalpa Sutra. One of my friends sent me from India. I was amazed how many information on Kalpa Sutra it's on a website. If one has met already a living true guru teacher, he should intensively purify himself by devoting all of his time to the guidance of his guru, taking away his mind from worldly pursuit and thoughts, and quickly reach that goal. There is no other anxiety with truth seeker but that of realizing self. We call them mumukshu. You heard that word, right? Mumukshu is saying. I'm sorry. Let me go one more. I got a good example of this. Page down. Oh, no, I need to go on this one. Sorry. If you think of river, it starts way up on a mountain near the glaciers. And his goal is to have a union with the ocean. So river would have a rainfall. Maybe if you've been to Yosemite, you will see the bridal rainfall. I mean, it falls from way up. Then you see boulders and meadows and goes through so many obstacles before it reaches to the ocean. That same drop of water may take a long time to get to ocean, but it always winds up in the ocean, and the ocean would always receives the river. We need that kind of efforts to achieve self-realization. Even Srimad, when he was doing his business, and after, he may be busy half hour, the minute he's done with it, he will start doing his self-search, soul searching, and start writing. So what saying is 100% whenever you get a time, however you get a time, have that same efforts of the river to meet the ocean. Okay, we'll read 31a, right? We just, okay. If one has met already a living true teacher, he should intensely purify himself, devoting all his time to the guidance of his guru, taking away his mind from worldly pursuit throughout and quickly reach the goal. There is no other anxiety with truth seekers but that of realizing self. 37:1. Just a minute. Okay. 38. Yeah. Oh, we did this? We didn't.
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. The state of truth seeking arises when defiling instincts are all calmed down. Liberation remains the only aspiration. There prevails disaffection for the life cycle, and there is compassion for all living beings. Upashant means weakening. We need to do whatever we can to weaken our toxic passions, which is kashai. Abhilash is aspiration. Khed, remorse. Someday we may get angry, but right away you think, oh, I'm so sorry that I've done this, Like today, Hitesh Bhai say that don't wait to ask for kshama or forgiveness right away. Fix it. When you have a driving and if you have a flat, we don't wait. We need to fix that flat. So whenever you do something, whatever we do wrong, Hitesh Bhai was saying, right away you ask for forgiveness. Don't wait for Paryushan Samvatsari Pratikaman. And even though he don't accept you, you go with all your heart and tell him that I'm truly sorry for what I have done. So, goal is fix a flat right away. Fix a fault, right away. The scriptures specify following 5 factors as the requisites for true seekers. Sham, calming down, weakening. Samveg, exclusively aspiring for liberation. Nirved, disaffection for worldly life. Anukampa, compassion, and a faith. Of these first 4 are specified in this verse as the characteristic of a truth seeker. The 5th is not mentioned because it is implicit in the first 4. We know all of this. Anger, ego, deceit, greed are the 4 main toxic passion that keeps the worldly soul bound to the cycle of birth and death. Meaning of kashaya? Kash means poison. I means labh, means to gain. So whatever gives you poisonous gain is kashai. And what are those poisonous gain? Are those 4 Krodman Maya. The reason they call it poisonous because it keeps you in a world, in an ocean of life and death. So that is the meaning of kashaya, kash prasai. What brings poison in your life? And poison is the one which keeps you in a cycle of birth and death. Calming down kashaya is called shama. The worldly life is beset with longing, desires, and aspiration. The soul has to continue wandering until it gives up all worldly desire and aspires only for liberation. Such exclusive aspiration for liberation is called samveg. Attachment to the worldly object can be relinquished At ease when one realizes that the worldly life is beset with misery. When one gets disaffection of the worldly life due to its misery, such disaffection is called nirved. Every living being has identical soul which is destined to attain liberation. Doesn't matter, big, small, huge. I think there is another stanza would explain that. As such, he learns to respect each and every being. If any of them is troubled or afflicted, his heart would grieve for its sake. Such compassion is anukampa. When a disciple has developed these attributes, he is considered a truth seeker. Truth seeker. So long as one does not reach that stage, desirous for liberation, he does not get the path of liberation, and his internal disease cannot be cured. Dasa means state, Jog means suitable, Moksha marg, path of liberation, Antar rog, inner disease, self-delusion. Until one attains the state of strongly desires for liberation, one cannot take advantage of the path of liberation. Naturally, one cannot be cured or remove his internal malady, self-delusion. Without attaining self-realization, the inner disease of self-delusion and the cycle of birth and death, which have been going on since eternity, which never be removed. You know, Debbie was explaining this morning that once he understood karma philosophy, you know, her inner feeling has really calmed down. She is full of anukampa, you know, or compassion. So we all need to, and I'm pretty sure all of you are atmarthi, and we are all following that way. Such wandering is a long-lasting disease with worldly soul has been afflicted. Other diseases do not last so long. Even if there is an incurable disease, it disappears with the end of the life. The worldly wandering, however, continues from birth to birth and seems to be unending. You know, today Hitesh Bhai was saying that our soul may be went to Samovasana many, many times. And I was really amazed. I thought, you know, once you are blessing of Simandar Swami, you got a pretty good chance to achieve the liberation, but that's not true. You know, we are still bound by karma. Self-delusion is the worst disease of the soul. Ignorance is the main cause of self-delusion. Unity of rational belief, knowledge and conduct is the solution for the disease of self-delusion, the path to moksha. When that state is reached, the preaching of the true Guru shines out, fructifies, and the blissful right thinking emerges from such preaching. Both preaching, suvichar, su means good vichar, right, rational thinking. Suhai becomes effective. Pragate means emerge. Sukhadai means blissful. When the disciple attains the state of the keen aspirant for liberation, the teaching of his living enlightened Guru works a miracle on him. Every word of Guru is rightly interpreted and adopted. Consequently, the disciple turns his mind from a worldly thought and pursues to the single-minded reflection and meditation on the nature of the self. He thinks only of his soul. The disciple rightly thinks of the method of soul liberation on the basis of his Guru's teaching. Such teaching pertains to various aspects like detachment, renouncement, compassion, equanimity, and self-reflection. By thinking deeply, knowledge gets developed, and this helps one to attain self-realization and ultimate infinite happiness. We got only a couple of verses. Okay. Knowledge of self gets manifested with the emergence of right thinking, and getting rid of the delusion with the enlightenment, one attains liberation. Suvichar, pragate, manifest, nijagnan, self-realization, kashai, kshay means destroy, moh, delusion, mohniya karma, the worst one, nirvan means liberation. With the right reflection on the nature of the self comes the knowledge of oneself, and by such knowledge, soul's deep-rooted delusion is removed, and the soul attains salvation. When one gets the guidance from a true guru, he can make out that his true nature is different from all sorts of worldly aspects. That enables him to ponder over the true nature of the soul and its potential to attain total purity. Thereby overcomes perception-related delusion, gains the right perception, samyak darshan. Once he gains right perception, his thinking, interest, attitude undergo radical change. He starts losing attachment for every worldly aspect and tries to remain tuned to the soul. As perception becomes purer and purer, he realized that his deluded behavior is not his nature. Therefore, the verse states that delusion is destroyed by virtue of enlightenment. The path of liberation can be comprehended with the emergence of right thinking. The six fundamental related to that path are laid here under in the form of dialogue between preceptor and the pupil. Upajete suvicharana moksha marga samajai guru sishya samvandati bhaku shadapadai. This is the concluding verse of this presentation. All the phases of spiritual pursuit have been briefly described in this presentation. Emergence of right thinking is the most crucial phase. Self-realization is the only way to get rid of all types of misery and happiness. Self-realization cannot arise without thinking. It is doubtless that thinking ability of the worldly soul has been hampered due to unwholesome contacts and condition. When one gets the guidance from a true guru, he shrugs off the indolence, earnestly strives to get on the path of liberation. Srimad knows that the disciple is genuine truth seeker. He is therefore willing to show the path. That concludes this presentation. So we'll continue tomorrow onwards. Yes.
Okay, I have CDs, so those of you who want it today, they can get it today. Those of you who want to come tomorrow, can get it tomorrow.
So we finished characteristic of truth seekers. The chapter 4 is statement of six fundamental.
That's the one that's the most.
Aatma che, Aatma nitya che, karta, bhokta. Those are the one we'll take tomorrow. Let's see how many stand. Yeah. We're doing one at a time. But those are, let's see, 40. Yeah, well, I'm taking different. So 45 to 48 is chapter 5. What are the... No, sorry. 43 and 44 is six fundamental. 45 through 48 is existing of the soul. And 49 to 58 is explanation about existence of the soul. So we'll take as much as, 10, 30, everybody. Whatever we can do, we'll try to do. Otherwise, everything is in CD.
142 is not going to get done. That's
There are lots of good stories in Prakash by Vivechan, which I have written down. I think to me, like whenever there is a good example, it's kind of stays with us. So we'll take some stories, and I'll add to the each stanza, whatever it is. But, whatever everybody feels, if you want to stay 10:15, 10:30, whatever everybody decides, we'll carry on. Today is 10:30 it took, because, we're starting a little late. We didn't start until 9:45, right? I mean, yeah, right. Well, today was, everybody's happy, please give me guidance to improve presentation, because this is the first time I'm doing, and I'm no difference than all of you are, or even lower than you are. Only thing I've done is compile the information to make it simpler so we can all understand. But please, feel free to give me your feedback. So, maybe I can make it shorter, because sometimes a lot of things is repeated again and again. And, sometimes I think by repeating, it gets in your head, especially me. So, give me a lot of feedbacks, whatever you can. We'll have these CDs on Saturday and Sunday, because, we'll distribute, CDs. But this CD has everything. Pratikaman Sutra, huh?
Ashtu Kagir
On
Suche.
Saturday we're meeting at like, where's it?
Yeah,
We'll ask Vipin Bhai, what time we're meeting. But this CD has, Pratikaman Sutra, Aatma Siddhi, Titta, Tattvartha Sutra, Nav Tattva. All right.
Stop in there.
Jai Janendra, good night. Jai Trikalvanda.
તમારી પાસે છે આ?
રેકોર્ડિંગ બંધ થઈ ગયું.
Oh no, just weird. Baku, can you close the recording? Baku,
Yeah, I'll turn it on. That's okay.
if you want to, it's fine. Yeah, can you turn it off, please?
Yeah.
Tejas bhai, look at those charts and give me a guidance on those